July 16th. It is a Monday. My name is Bill McCamley. I'm a state representative from Las Cruces and Mesilla up here in Santa Fe for your legislative update for the day. I was up here for a Courts, Corrections, and Judiciary Interim Committee meeting, and the reason that I came up is there was a full hearing on immigration, but also the role that private corporate prisons play in the situation regarding immigrants we have in our country. And for many of you that don't know, New Mexico actually leads the nation. Anywhere between 42 and 50%, depending on who you ask, of our prisoners are actually housed in private for-profit corporate prisons rather than in ones that are run by the government itself. And there have been a lot of issues with that. In fact, under the Obama administration, there was a move to try to move away from that at the federal level because they found that safety concerns were a lot greater, pay for guards was a lot lower, and there were a bunch of other negative consequences to that. However, what we talked about specifically today was the influence that corporate prisons have on the immigration situation coming out. And there was a lady from the National Council of State Legislators as well as a New Mexico lawyer for an immigrant advocacy group that were talking. And they basically say, look, we have two facilities in New Mexico, in Cibola County and in Otero County, that are contracted with ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency that has been doing a lot of these immigration crackdowns at the federal level. They get paid by your tax dollars to house these folks, and there has been a huge amount of increase in the beds that are going to be needed for immigration populations because Donald Trump and Jeff Sessions at the federal level had decided to go away from a policy of allowing people that come in that were applying for asylum to get an ankle bracelet, go stay with family members, and show up to their court cases, where like 95 or 97% of these people actually show up for court cases. Costs about $24, $25 a day to have this program, but now they're putting them in jail, where it costs $150 to $160 a day to house these folks. The conditions are really poor. We actually got some letters from some fathers who had been separated from their children with these heartbreaking, anguishing stories about not only the conditions that they face when they're in these corporate prisons, but also the fact that they haven't been able to talk to their kids and even know where they are. This is wrong. Separating the families that Trump is doing is just straight evil, but allowing for these private corporate corporations to make money, your tax dollars, for a policy that's not needed is insane. Furthermore, a lot of the argument that you hear all the time is that they're breaking the law, they're breaking the law. I ask these folks, this is a misdemeanor at worst, and a lot of times it's just a civil fine. It's like jaywalking. And I said, is there a comparable federal law where you can say that something that this low at federal level, a misdemeanor or civil fine, that is enforced this way where you're put in jail for who knows how long? And they said there's not even, they can't even think of one. So for those people who say they're breaking the law, they're going to jail, well, you don't see jaywalkers going to jail for years. You don't see jaywalkers being ripped away from their families. That's the sort of thing that immigration law, by coming here illegally, is generally under. And applying for asylum is legal, right? It's illegal here in the United States. It's also legal through international law, and that's what most of these folks are wanting to do. And there was a lot of problems with people getting assistance by lawyers for these court cases. In fact, they said that's why you see all these stories of these 4- and 5-year-olds that are in this court case appearing before a judge, and they're getting deported because they don't speak English, they're 4 and 5 years old, they don't know where they're at. And so these things are terrible. So I think what you're going to see is two things that the state is going to start doing or looking at over the next year. The first is we're going to start looking at the corporate prison industry as a whole. There are other states, Illinois, New York, I know Nevada's looked at it, of really either lowering or getting rid of state contracts with these corporate prisons. And the other thing that they're going to look into is how does the state regulate these businesses? None of the corporate prison companies showed up today, even though they were invited. ICE or the Border Patrol did not show up today, even though they were invited. And they say, well, we've got contracts at the federal level. Well, yes, true, but they also have business licenses here in New Mexico. And some of these places, like the one in Cibola, also has a state contract. So I think you're going to see a lot more emphasis by the legislature in how we do business, what the negative consequences are, and how we can do better. So sorry for getting a little emotional about this. This stuff really pisses me off. But as always, I appreciate you watching. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns on these or any other issues, I'd love to speak with you. Thanks very much, and hope everyone's having a great afternoon. Bye.